Good morning. Welcome Saturday morning and Vibe with the Tribe. I am so excited. This is our 25th edition. Sean, did you know that? We're 25 of these already.
25?
25. Today.
You know, I have to wake up this early on Saturday mornings just to hit 25?
Don't talk to me that way.
When I was 25, I didn't wake up this early on Saturday. I'm just saying.
No, I'm 50. I still don't wake up. Welcome to Vibe with the Tribe, our 25th edition. Today, we're talking about a very interesting thing. I don't know much about it. So, Sean, I think we discussed we're going to rely on your knowledge of this. But apparently, cryptocurrency has several concepts that they talk about. One is do your own research, which I would love to share an anecdote about that from the pandemic, which we have so many anecdotes. Second one is when in doubt, zoom out. And third is FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Sean, you ready?
I'm ready. I love this topic.
Cool. And if anyone's listening out live, we've got one of our favorites, Glenn, has joined us. Good morning.
Morning.
Morning. So do your own research. Here is the thing I want to talk about with this. We all know what it means. So if you hear from someone that you're like, man, we've got social media inundation. When you hear something and you want to make a big decision, and these concepts were based primarily on cryptocurrency. I don't know anything about cryptocurrency. I don't want to know anything about it just yet. But when the pandemic started, I went to all the other countries who were already learning about it and doing it well. And I was the first person to wear a mask because I did my own research at my job. And first of all, here in America, a lot of companies were like, do not wear a mask. It will scare the guests. It's like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. Because if you did your research, dear company leaders, you would know that masks are the thing that help protect you from getting COVID. So all that to say, do your own research. If you hear a tip on a specific, I don't even know a term for cryptocurrency, Sean, but even the stock market, if you hear a tip, for me, my rule is if I have 3 people that I trust, right, on any given subject, I go to 3 different sources. And if 3 different people I trust have the same agreement, then I go with that. Then I feel confident in whatever I'm studying or whatever I need to know about to make the decision in my life.
Yeah, I think this is interesting because this crypto is something that I actually know a fair amount of. I actually own some cryptocurrency, some Ethereum.
Does not surprise me.
I know. And, part of it, I think going back to your story is, yes, I remember. And if you remember, I sent a newsletter out to everybody when the pandemic first started. I actually wrote it when I was down in Mexico on spring break with my family, because that's, kind of when we were closing down in the States back in March. And I started researching like crazy. And we talked about this. Yep. I knew that because this was a SARS derivative, that, we'd already encountered SARS back in 2003, 2004, 2005. I saw what happened in Toronto when they closed down that city. So, the idea of a lockdown, mask, I was more surprised that we didn't have temperature checks all over the place, because that's what they did in Asia.
Yes. Why are you not checking my temperature?
That's right. But it turns out that because of asymptomatic spread. And that was probably the one thing that really made it different. However, all of this aside, what Micah is really pointing out is, yes, you do want to do your own research anytime you've got something that comes in. So for instance, I'll go back using the topic of today, the cryptocurrency. I remember when Bitcoin came out, okay, and I was like, it'll never be more than $1. What is this thing? I mean, I was that early into it, and I actually had a very interest about it, but it was extremely technically complicated at the time, was certainly not for laymen, but true geeks got on board with it. And then, of course, it went through multiple phases of usage, primarily in the dark web, et cetera. And all along the way, it still gains traction, and the back-end technology gained a lot of traction. But let's go to the currency concept in general. When I decided to buy some crypto, I really was looking at a couple of things. I knew Bitcoin had all the hype. Everybody was talking about it. Hell, when people are giving you tips on buying crypto in an elevator, there is a problem. But I started looking at Ethereum, and I was like, okay, Ethereum makes a lot more sense to me. It had a larger utility value than Bitcoin's did. And so, because again, being in finance, I knew that part of the problem in financial world is transferring money from one individual to another. It's actually easier in the States, but overseas it's tough. So because of that, I was like, okay, this has utility value. Now, the point that I'm trying to make in this is even if you do your own research, be very cognitive of bias, because cognitive bias, all the biases really, but in particular, stop trying to look for things to affirm, like, I really want to do this. Let me find sources that agree with me, and really look for sources that disagree with you. That is the number one rule of doing your own research, is find a point, find a hypothesis, and then challenge that hypothesis. Will we really need to wear a mask? Will crypto really be used? I mean, these are things where you really have to, I think, not only look at both sides of the issue, but look at the things that are maybe giving you a bias towards one direction versus the other, and really challenge them. No, this is a hype. It's BS. It has no utility. It's not as good as a credit card. Okay, that's a valid point. Now argue the other side.
Yeah. And, with the awareness that this takes time. I mean, it takes time to research. It takes time to read. It takes time to watch the videos. And so you have to really discern where your energy is going to go and how much you want to know. And some people have a lovely obsessive personality. I'm guessing quite a few thinkers have that because, that's what we do. We're like, I want to know more. So real life, as in how many articles and books can you read? I've got, I just ordered 5 more books on, on marketing.
But here's the thing though, and I'm going to give a trick in this. Look to the past. Okay. The human experience has not really changed that much in the tens, thousands, hundreds of thousands of years that there has been humanoids on this planet. Okay. Our experiences, I mean, are we really different than the Romans, the Egyptians, the great African kingdoms, the Chinese dynasties, all of this? Were people really so much fundamentally different back then? No. And they faced all the same things. We've had pandemics. We've had bubbles. We've had all of these things over time. So to me, when I'm looking, one of the things that I kind of go for is, let me look back in history a little bit. Okay. And if you look at cryptocurrency again, I remember the great crash of cryptocurrency when it went to $10 for Bitcoin, and it was over. It went back to $1, and Bitcoins will never come back, etc. There was a bubble and crash in Bitcoin when it was at $1 to $10 exchange. So I'm, again, using our crypto theme. I'm like, well, apparently we've had a lot of crashes. And I will tell you, even if I had bought at the crash, I wouldn't have been unhappy at $10 for a Bitcoin.
Well, so that leads beautifully into the next one, is when in doubt, zoom out. So Jared, in the article that I share, Jared did a really great analogy where it's like, holy God, this week was awful with crypto and everything crashed from 60,000 to 30,000 or whatever. And then, so you're looking at the 1 week graph. Well, then he pulls it out. It's like, well, here's the year-long graph, and it goes up, 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 up. Yes, there's a jags up here, but you're still up here, you know? And so the zooming out, he also did that with his weight, which was interesting. He's like, yep, I changed my eating for the last couple of weeks and I'm down 10 pounds. And so you're like, yay, go Jared. But then if you pull out for the year, you'll look that he's still way up.
That's right.
Pandemic. And I, and I think that is a common thing. So if you have increased weight over the pandemic, just like Miss Micah has, joined a gym and I'm ready to get back, but I'm like, it's hard. It's hard. But definitely zoom out. If something, it's like you can't see the forest for the trees. If you're looking at one tree, back out, see everything that is involved, and create a new story, a new narrative, not a new one, but just create a more true narrative and story for what's happening.
Using back, and we'll use another example, Amazon. So I remember way back in the late 90s, I bought some Amazon stock. And again, I'd done some research, and there was one particular money manager that really had made a very bullish case for it. I looked at the opposite case. And I ended up, and I was like, Amazon will never go more than $30. Oh my God, this is a bubble. Okay. Because it made
What
no
does
money, right?
bubble mean? When you say bubble, what does that
Meaning
mean?
that the demand is higher than supply, and the demand is artificially high due to people emotionally purchasing items.
Okay.
And so when we look at that, you sit there and it goes back to the tulip bubble. There's, literally, which were bulbs. And the term came from the tulip bubbles of the Netherlands back in the 1600s, I believe. Anyway, when you look at this and you say, this makes no logical sense, that's understandable. But when you pull back, and this goes back to the historical reference, if you look at Amazon, Amazon has crashed number of times, okay? A number of times. And yet the fundamentals of the company were there. And to be fair, I never really appreciated Amazon until I heard Brian Eisenberg speak at a conference that we hosted many, many years ago back in Denver. And he had spent 2 weeks at Amazon, looking at how they do marketing. And his presentation on Amazon and how aggressive they were in fine-tuning the customer experience, at that point, I was like, I got to buy this stock, because any company that is that fastidious about improving the ecosystem of its customers is somebody has, I think, the right mental attitude. Now, things change and market opportunities change. My point is that when you zoom out on all of this, you will find that there has been repeated ups and downs. There has been this event that occurred in different forms. If you look back to the pandemic of 1918, people were bitching about masks in San Francisco. Someone got shot.
Yeah.
So, again, this is where that zooming out effect, I think, is really tough, because what happens is we get, look at these ups and downs. We see the immediate, and it has that emotional impact on us. And it's really hard to say, but yeah, this time is different. Right? That is the one killer. This time is different. Really? Maybe if you zoom out, it's not.
Right. And that makes me think about housing. I've lost my shirt on several houses, and I've made ridiculous amounts of money on other houses. So I'm like, it's just all evens out.
And I think this is about again, emotional management. We talk a lot about thinkers.
I was going to say recovery. That was when you said that, my first thought was, we need to recover from the impact of how we feel of that deep dip. Like, crypto, you're like, it dipped. Right. I need to recover. I need to zoom out, and I need to reset.
And this is a very human emotion. I remember when Ethereum went up to $4,000 per Ethereum, and I felt rich that day. I knew, and then it went down back to 2,000. I was like, I'm so poor now. No, nothing really changed. Okay, nothing really changed. Right. But that emotional zooming in and zooming out, and then I think it goes back to, again, when we're looking at these, whatever the opportunity is, what are our values? What are our long-term plays, right? I am not a day trader. I'm not trying to, time the edges, the peaks and valleys of, a trading time period. And by looking out, putting more context in, you can sit there and go, wow, is this something that, is historically represented? And on top of which, if it is, then I can look to the past and say, what were the factors in there? Knowing that I have an underlying belief of a value that is, not dependent upon the ebbs and flows of the day-to-day activity of that decision. Or you feel bad that your house that you spent a fortune on has a broken water heater. Does your house suddenly have no value anymore? Right? You can fix it, and the house will still keep on in value.
Yeah. And anyway, we don't have to talk about that. But for me, my house is my home. Like, that's like, I don't care how much it costs. If I love where I'm at, I'm happy. Yeah. Like, regardless of what the value is. Last one, which I really would love to hear your opinions on, and then I'm excited to hear what Glenn has to say. It's so funny. Glenn's been with us for so long. I don't even have to ask a question. I just say, hey, what are your thoughts on what we've talked about? He always has this amazing insight. So the last one is FUD. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And these are three things that sell. They sell. Mm-hmm. And I don't care if it's just in America. They sell all over the world. And so one of the first things that I thought about is, when someone is selling that to you, ask, why are they saying this? Why are they giving me the fear, the uncertainty, and the doubt? Right. So then it goes back to do your own research. And then the other thought I had about this before I go over to Sean is like, you can actually, and this kind of feels a little bit, you have to use your values. You have to make sure that you're coming from your values, but you can use this. Like if you're in business, a small business, you can use this type of tactic to help promote your product. If you want to, but again, definitely using your, coming from your value system.
Yeah. FUD is absolutely one of the most powerful marketing concepts out there.
Yes, it is.
In the sense that if you're fearful, I'll make you less fearful. If you're uncertain, I'll give you certainty. If you're in doubt, I will give you clarity. I mean, this is where, again, from a marketing standpoint, because as I point out in the manifesto, it's all about the amygdala, right? It's all about this idea of getting that system one reactive state, because quite frankly, we don't have the time or the mental energy to sit there and be, through every single thing in our world. And so to me, when I look at this is that I'm like, okay, let's go through and say, all right, what is it that with fear, uncertainty, and doubt that is really causing us to be fearful, uncertain, and et cetera. And it generally comes from this concept of the other. And what I mean by that is, well, other people, right? I don't know what other people will do. I don't know about the other. And so a lot of it is just trying to assess your personal situation, is stop looking outward and start looking inward and say, do I really miss out by, am I really something that I need? And so, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and uncertainty is a really bad one, because uncertainty scares the heck out of us. We don't know what tomorrow is. And anyone who can give me clarity or, can define, a certain future, that's great. And mostly that comes across as confidence. Okay, Micah? That's why highly confident people, everyone likes being around highly confident people, because they seem like they know it all. And that my uncertainty, they seem to figure it out. So you have to really be careful, because it's the other. And when you reflect inward, you say, why am I fearful? Do I care about being uncertain? There's a certain amount of uncertainty that really is a good thing. Okay.
Yes.
And if you're more comfortable with it, you'll be a happier person.
Action. Yeah. You're going to take action. The first thing I think about is age. I think if you live an intentional life, which I think most thinkers do, try to make the best choices, try to live from our values, and that with age, you have less fear, less uncertainty, and less doubt. And for me, that's my perspective, and that is my experience with life. I'm like,
I think you get more comfortable with it.
But I've been through so much, and I'm still here. I have a home, I have food. It's like, it's all gonna be.
But that's the confidence of the self, right? As you get older, you become more confident in yourself, because you have experiences that you can rely on that give you some level of comfort as you face uncertain futures. And then, of course, you have a historical reference. Well, I remember what that was like, right? And it is in those moments when we're experiencing new things that we get extremely fearful. And then we tend to look to the outside versus looking into the inside. And this is the tough part about being young, because you don't know anything. So to me, I have always, that when fear, uncertainty, doubt, you can feel this. It's okay to feel this. Are you acting on it? And before you act on it, really try to do some self-reflection. Because you will find that through that self-reflection, you may not be as fearful or uncertain or care about being doubtful in the process.
Right. Now, how is this related to, because this comes from cryptocurrency jargon. And Jared said this is a really highly used term. Because when there were any naysayers about cryptocurrency, they always say FUD. Those people are in fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Do you know anything about the context?
So I'll tell you why they do that, because in this particular unregulated marketplace, if everyone starts buying or selling, the variance and volatility of the price goes up and down accordingly. So if I am a holder of the currency and they all of a sudden FUD starts to get out of control, then people start selling, the value of my asset goes down. This is a very common in all marketplaces, where you as a long-term investor, someone who wants to see the appreciation of the asset, you avoid FUD like crazy, and you start to see it, you attack it because it has a financial impact.
So that's
Conversely, though, there are short sellers, just so people know what it is. There are people in the stock market that bet that stocks are going down. They love FUD. They absolutely do everything they can to point out all the flaws, all the errors. Amazon is a blah, blah, blah. They will come up and do all these things. They'll go online and they will try to gin up a public sentiment that then says that this company is worthless or extremely valuable, as the case was GameStop recently when it was going up. So FUD in the trading crypto world or any type of marketplace can be a killer. And so people have a visceral reaction when they see it popping up, because if they are long-term players that are holding, they are absolutely going to destroy it because it has a financial impact on their life, which is another form of FUD. If you think about it.
It's like that feels like the same kind of circle we're in on many different levels.
That's right.
In our lives and in government, businesses, schools.
But everything is a cycle. I mean, Ray Dalio, who is the founder of Bridgewater, a multi-billionaire, the largest hedge fund in the world, who went broke back in the 80s because he got it completely wrong and changed his thinking process. And highly recommend reading Adam Grant's Originals because it tells a great story about Ray. But my point is that Ray's whole philosophy on investing, which is why he owns the largest hedge fund in the world, is because it is all about cycles. There are inputs, outputs, and human cycles, and it repeats over and over. And the overall arc of human history goes like this, okay? So if you zoom out, history looks like this. It does. Yeah. But in the interim, it can look like this, right? Yeah. So that the cyclical fashion of the human existence is something that as we get older, we start to understand better. But in the thinking process, we have to incorporate that in. And that's really what we can combat FUD by zooming out, by sitting there and making sure we're not trying to find information that confirms our bias, but really trying to look at both sides, even if we tend to lean to one side versus the other.
Right. At this point, Glenn, I would like to hear from you. We talked about doing your own research, when in doubt, zoom out, and fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Do you have anything you would like to add or have questions about?
Well, the more you get involved in something, the more emotional it becomes. And by that, I mean the more moving parts move.
Yeah.
That's the reality of involvement with things and decisions and details and things. And that's a constant motion. That's hard to deal with. Just keep telling. Either I tell myself, which isn't often, but people tell me it's emotional, and I know what that means, and I know what that triggers in my mind, and it's not a settling thing. That's number one. Number two, support. Yes, I have 7 people, been writing for a year and a half, have 7 people that are my core team. And I selected those 7 people 6 months into my project, not 6 minutes. So I know that they're reliable. They're trustworthy. They're go-to people. They're people who get it. Mm-hmm. Number 3, I hate the term going back because I don't like going back at 71. And I don't like the term normal because it's only a setting on the dryer.
Yeah. Yes.
Let me give you a perfect example of something that happened this week that I just ended the conversation because it wasn't going anywhere. Someone showed up at my door on a cold call for a pest control, and they were young, they were vibrant, they were enthusiastic, and they thought they could get me. And he, he asked me where I get my pest control done, and I said I get it done through my lawn people. Well, you know what happens when you get it done through your lawn people, and I didn't tell him I knew because he wouldn't agree with my answer. That my answer to him was because I know my lawn people. I trust my lawn people. They're good people. I've known them a long time. I knew them before I needed lawn care. And I worked with them, and I know their families, and I know their history, and I know that what they put on their lawn and what they do in their pest control scenario is something that that I would want to do too. They often say that when they market things to me, and I said, go ahead. You're doing it in your own house, and I know these folks. Do it in mine. It's not going to be exorbitant.
Yep.
It's going to be a value product, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, after he paused a minute, I said, sir, I said, the people you mentioned to me that have bought into your system all live down in the other section of this development. When you cross the street at the end of my street, you get into the generation that's, if you go down and visit them and they're not home, if you get down 6 months later, they're not there. I said, the people in my development is the old section. These people are here. They are steady. They are solid. They are well-grounded. And you won't sell this to any of them. So don't tell me that you've been to my neighbors. They won't even give you the time of day.
Yeah, that's the
I was
zoom
trying
out.
to give him a culture. I was trying to give him a cultural lesson, but he wasn't hearing it. And he said, now here's my question to you in considering all this. Does the number one pest control company in the world do cold calls and go door to door?
Truth.
Do they have to? I don't know. I'm not a sales guy. I just know a good one when I see one.
Yeah. Oh, that is, we
But
have
I think,
a lot here.
and I think this goes back again, that there is so much that we, when we look at decision making, and I think part of Jared's article was about decision making and kind of keying off of Glenn's thing. Part of it is that there are decisions that we make that have high impact. There's decisions we make that we can reverse, right? And a lot of times when we look at those, two axioms, if there's a decision that has a high impact that I can reverse later, it may be worth doing it, right? It may be worth, and then if there's a decision that has a low impact but not reversible, maybe it's worth doing that. But if it's something that, again, where I can't reverse out of that decision easily, then you sit there and you're like, okay, then you really will take more time. And I think those are the when we're looking back on the crypto concept we're talking about, is that we all are faced with decisions that we can easily get out of. Try this. If you don't like it, go away. Those are easier decisions to make, right? And a lot of times people, especially in marketing, should aim to sit there and say, look, just try it. The other thing is, of course, what Glenn pointed out is back to the other, hey, pests are going to eat your home, but look at all these other neighbors of yours that are going to come in and have already signed up on a service, because it addresses the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And you can use the authority of the group to help counteract it. In Glenn's case, he was smart enough to know, well, you're blowing smoke. And I think that at the end of the day goes back to his initial point, is there are people in your universe that you will trust that will have expertise in the area that you have to have a decision made into. They may not be right, but at least they've thought about it. And at least they can care enough to hopefully give you an honest opinion. And the one thing that I would leave on today's, Imbibe with the Tribe, is as you are looking at whether it's cryptocurrency, pest control, whatever, okay, there are people that you can go to, and the people that you want to talk to are the ones that can be honest with you, all right? And I will tell you, to me, a true friend tells you you look fat. A true friend tells you that outfit you're wearing is terrible. A true friend tells you when you're being overly emotional, because they care enough about you to be honest. The people that lie to you, the people that sit there and try to not hurt your feelings because they care so much about you, may not really be caring about you if they're not being honest with you.
Yeah.
One more thing.
Yeah.
One more.
Yeah.
For me.
Okay.
Yeah. This week I entered into something completely new.
Ooh.
Nancy invited me, that's Mrs. Compton, to go along to volunteer. And I was hesitant, but I went, and the reason it worked is because there was one person there were four of us. There was one person in the group who had been there, who knew what happened, who knew how to explain to you what to do and what to do next.
Yep.
And we worked together as a foursome, like a wonderful, wonderful team. And it was a fabulous 3 hours. Would I go back and do that once a month? Absolutely. Because I know what the program and the protocol is now. I don't need that person if she wants to go, fine, it'd be great. But I don't need to have someone go along to tutor me now because I know the ropes.
That's the experience. Yeah.
Very fulfilling. Very fulfilling. It was a public event, no masks. It was
Excellent.
a mission thing. People were being helped. Things were moving. There was evidence of caring. It was just everything packaged into one 3-hour opportunity that I would have never thought of on my own. That's the thing.
Good.
You're so brave. Thank you.
I guess I was that day.
You were. Well, and that's the fun. I mean, you worked through it sounds like you had fear, uncertainty, and doubt, right? You worked through it. You were courageous enough. And that's what we're going to invite every single person who listens to this or watches it. Try it. Do it. What is that one? Do something that scares you every single day.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good idea.
That's joyful. That's joyful. That's it I've got. So do your own research. When you're in doubt, zoom out, look at historical data. And when you approach the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, do like Glenn does and either ask for assistance or guidance. Go to YouTube. YouTube explains anything you might need to know about or feel, scared about. I changed a garbage disposal not long ago. I didn't like it, but I did the whole thing just watching YouTube. I was super scared to do it, but I didn't want to pay the $150 for someone else to do it when I could do it. So, there you go. Sean, what you want to leave us with?
Well, and I would always add, I hope that you have great people in your life that can be honest with you and can help you when you are considering anything, to give you their honest opinion based on their actual experiences with the things that you're dealing with, because you may find the value of their advice is something that will help guide you as you navigate through any decision, whether it's investing or buying a cryptocurrency, a stock, or just trying to figure out how to change your dishwasher, your disposal.
I did it though. I did it well.
Alrighty.
So
Good.
Thank you, Glenn. I love when you hear. Thank you, Sean, for adding all of this information that I did not know about cryptocurrency and will probably never know. Thank you all for joining us for Imbibe with the Tribe. We appreciate you, and hopefully we'll see you next Saturday morning, 9:30 Central, 8:30 a.m. No, 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central.